Yes. Okay, we're live. Yes.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Scrappy and Friends. I'm Scrappy Fan 92, and with me today are Harry and Raideran.
As usual.
Yep, just us today.
Yes, last episode we had a special 100th episode where we did a fanfic about ourselves, and I tried to make a very heartfelt, sincere observation that was called cheesy by one of you. So thank you for that.
I think that was Raider.
Who could that have been?
Yeah,
So the lesson is, I will never be nice again. We are here today for a thematically appropriate, I say with the heaviest asterisk attached, episode of Storytime. Episode 101 will be about 101 Dalmatians. More specifically, it's 2018 TV spin-off 101 Dalmatian Street, a show that I'm fairly certain none of you have seen.
probably. Yeah, I might have seen one of the shows or like seen a movie or something, but I know literally nothing. So.
To provide a primer of the franchise, 101 Dalmatians, pardon me, was a 1961 Disney film based off a Dodie Smith novel of a similar name. Chronicled a bunch of London Dalmatians dealing with a human furrier. Is that what you call her? Fashionista, loves fur, Cruella de Vil. She's evil.
Right.
Great synopsis, Scrappy. Yes. Most of you probably at least know Pongo and Perdita and Lucky and Rolly and Cadpig if you watched the 1997 cartoon.
A lot of those names do ring a bell, actually.
Dalmatian Street ain't about none of them. It takes place in what I would presume is modern times, and it's basically about the descendants of Pongo and Perdita, still living in London, so I guess they never got their Dalmatian plantation from the end of the original movie.
Hmm.
Yes. Focuses on a mixed family of 101 Dalmatians living in Camden Town, largely distant from the influence of their human pet. Central characters are Dolly and her brother Dylan, the oldest siblings of a clan of 99 puppies getting into mischief. Like if the 1997 cartoon was a mostly rural-based slice-of-life show, this is urban. Just mostly the puppies get into their whatever mishaps happen, basically.
Moving to the big city.
Oh.
Not really moving. As far as I know, they've been stuck there all their lives. Now, aside from the ones who moved to England, I guess.
Oh.
Like they don't they're a mixed family. They don't really focus on it much. Which, that's kind of a good thing, but let me rephrase that. They're a mixed family, they just don't mention it often, which they don't really need to. It's just might have just been a way to have, puppies, some English-sounding puppies and some American-sounding puppies. The show is mostly episodic, but does have a story arc basically by the halfway point of its first and only season. The story, on the other hand, is just kind of basically just another adventure for them. Our our focus character is not oh my gosh. Our focus character is not Dolly or Dylan, but their younger brother Dante. And I guess that takes us to our story. Hounds by ZeroChan21. When a new corgi moves to Dalmatian Street, Dante quickly realizes that they have a lot in common. When Dylan and Dolly notice how close the two have gotten, they cause Dante to believe that his new friend might have a secret crush on him. This one-shot story was published on June 5th, 2022, making it, I think, the newest story that wasn't written by me to ever be read on Storytime. Don't quote me on that.
When did you say it was published?
June 5th, 2022.
Oh yeah, probably.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
I haven't
I
been
don't.
here for.
Yeah, I would have to look at all the other stories we've read, and I'm not doing that. Hello. Everything died.
I had to disconnect.
Oh,
That's
well,
all.
at least it happened early.
It'll happen every time for each Dalmatian in the story.
Oh, jeez.
Well, at least we don't have all 101 of them.
Yeah.
Since this is a story based off of a show that I think I'm the only person that I have watched, we're gonna have fun with these voices.
Gonna have fun with this thing.
Also, folks, this story's over 9,000 words, so we may very well have to split into 2 episodes.
Yeah,
Just giving a fair warning.
I don't know how many words we usually read, but yeah.
I think on a good day we would clear this, but
Have we ever had a good day on this show?
exactly.
I know that there's been episodes where we go through a lot of stuff, but yeah.
Regardless, this is Hounds by ZeroChan21. Dolly and Dylan Dalmatian leapt through the doggy door of their London home.
Weather seems fine to me.
Dolly said, surveying the sky.
Not hot enough to be a long-tongue day, but not cold enough to ruin anyone's fun.
Ugh. Do you think we'll need to bring some sunscreen for the little one's snouts? Dylan asked, worrying as per usual.
It's cloudy. They'll be fine.
Dolly assured him with a smirk. Dawkins and Dante, their younger brothers, came out behind them. Dawkins to help his older siblings prepare for their trip to the park, Dante only to escape the noise inside. I believe this is Dawkins speaking. Is it almost time to go? They're bouncing off the walls in there. If they don't get their energy out, we're going to have a huge mess by the time Mum and Dad get home. At that moment, a squeaky ball flew out of the doggy door and shot into the street. Some car horns blew and tires swerved to avoid the toy as it launched to the other side of the street. Do you riffraffs mind? Came the voice of their petty neighbor, Clarissa. The Dalmatian sighed heavily and turned to see what she was yapping about this time. One's trying to prepare for the arrival of one's new roommate, Clarissa declared, holding herself in a straight pose. Hugo has agreed to take in a corgi from America. She's a distant cousin of one. I don't want you flea-bitten Dalmatians scaring her away.
Just what we needed around here. Another Clarissa.
Dolly groaned, rolling her eyes.
Dante, the end of the world might be upon us today after all.
She added. Called it! Dante smirked and shared a fist bump with his sister. Trust me, we don't want to get in the way of you meeting your cousin, Dylan said, putting on a fake smile. We're just getting ready to take the pups to the P-A-R-K. We'll be out of here first soon. Not soon enough, Clarissa snarled through gritted teeth. At that moment, a red bus pulled to a stop in front of the Corgi's home. The doors opened and a few humans stepped off, noses in their phones as usual. Behind them stepped out a black and white Corgi with a chip in one ear and a red bandana. She had a vaguely heart-shaped patch on her left front leg, and she looked to be about Dawkins or Dante's age. Ah, Calypso. Oh my. Ah, Calypso, darling. Like Cruella there. Okay. Clarissa smiled, prancing towards the newcomer. How was one's trip? The new corgi backed away from Clarissa a bit, ears folding skeptically.
Fine, I guess.
She shrugged. She surveyed the houses around them before quickly noticing the uniqueness of the one next to them.
Is that where we live?
She asked, stepping closer to the home, stumpy tail wagging and green eyes widening. Oh, heavens no! Clarissa gasped. Unfortunately, that's the home of one's filthy neighbor. Pardon?
Oh yeah, so someone in the chat showed up and just sent a fanfic link.
That's one way to ask.
Apparently it's a Phineas and Ferb story.
Again? That was the story. That was Phineas Ferb was the subject of the first user submission we got in our first episode.
Yeah, I'm looking at this and like the chapters are like ridiculously short.
Wrong URL. My name is Celestial Ludenberg.
Oh,
yeah,
that's the wrong
Celestia
URL.
Ludenberg.
Celestia Ludenberg.
Well, you're not supposed to send that.
As I was about to say, it would be apropos to get Phineas and Ferb store recommended in our first episode, and then also get a Phineas and Ferb store recommended in our last episode as well.
Yeah.
Scrappy, are you suggesting this is the last episode of story time?
I'm not suggesting, I'm confirming.
Oh shit. Dang, it's all over.
It's all over, boys. Okay, what is this? Simpsons, what
Looks
ifs?
like it's all over. For you.
I see.
Thank you, Celestia Ludenberg. We'll try to look at it and we'll see.
Yeah, we'll,
Can't give any promises, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll look into this. Yeah.
So where was I again?
We were home of those filthy Dalmatians or something.
Yeah. Oh, heavens no! Clarissa gasped. Unfortunately, that's the home of one's filthy neighbors. Family of Dalmatians with no humans!
No human.
Calypso said in a dazed tone. She watched Dylan and Dolly chatting, ignoring the two corgis. She watched Dylan and Dolly chatting, ignoring the two corgis and continuing their preparations.
Sounds pretty neat to me.
It's absolutely Oh my. It's absolutely dreadful, Clarissa growled. Don't worry, they're heading out soon. Come inside and I'll show you around. Calypso looked at Clarissa, then back at the four Dalmatians in front of the other house.
I think I'm just gonna step over and say hi.
She said sheepishly before padding over towards the spotted dogs. Clarissa stared at her in disbelief before sticking her nose up and going inside.
I can just hear the humph. Hello.
Calypso said, approaching the steps of the Dalmatian home.
Oh god. Don't worry about it. Oh hi.
Dolly half smiled. In the back of her mind, she was getting ready to come up with a snappy comeback to whatever insult this mini Clarissa threw at them.
I love your house. It's so colorful.
Calypso said, looking again at the brightly colored bricks. Oh! Dylan paused for a moment, trying to decipher if the compliment was genuine or sarcastic. Thank you. We have a big family, so we just kind of let everyone help decorate.
Sounds fun.
Calypso smiled.
Sometimes I wish I had a big family. Well, I guess I did, but I was born with a breeder, so I didn't get to spend much time with them.
She shrugged, sitting down on the sidewalk. Oh, that's too bad, Dylan said sympathetically. At least you've got Clarissa now. Calypso frowned and turned back to the other house for a moment.
I guess.
She sighed.
I just can't see myself getting along with her. What's she like?
She's fine.
Horrible.
Dylan and Dolly spoke at the same time. Dolly, Dylan said through his teeth.
No, it's alright. I kind of figured she'd be stuck up from what I'd heard.
Calypso laughed. Sorry, we haven't introduced ourselves. Dylan smiled. I'm Dylan. This is my sister Dolly, and my brothers Dawkins and Dante.
Dante?
Calypso smiled.
Like Dante's Inferno?
Dante just nodded silently.
Wow, you must be a real hellhound then, right?
The corgi giggled and even snorted a bit before clearing her throat.
Oh, I see the naming scheme now. Sorry, that was a dumb joke. I'm Calypso.
Like the... I forget what Dante sounds like. Something like that. Like the water nymph from Greek mythology? Oh gosh. Dante said, looking the corgi up and down.
I wish.
Calypso said with a nervous laugh.
No, my previous owner was a big Pirates of the... I'm gonna be honest, I never remember how to pronounce Caribbean.
Caribbean.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't it? I think it's both Caribbean and Caribbean.
It's both, but...
Yeah, I think both are correct.
Both. The franchise, at least in like marketing, always says Caribbean.
Thinking Calypso like the creepy magic guy from Twisted Metal.
I think like growing up, I heard it was one way for the movie and the other way for the real location. But
yeah,
remember.
yeah, that makes sense. I always assumed it was just Caribbean, but yeah, it's both are correct.
Okay. No, my previous owner was a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan.
She rolled her eyes. Oh, gross! Dante rolled his eyes. Well, you don't have that... well, you don't have that owner anymore, so you can just say it's from the water nymph.
I like that idea.
Calypso smiled. Dolly and Dylan looked between the two puppies and smirked at each other. Would you like to join us, Calypso? Dylan asked. We were about to head to the park and... Supposed to be both of us, but okay.
Oh, okay. I wasn't ready for it.
A chorus of little voices came as a flood of black and white spots poured from the doggy door and raced across the street towards the park.
Trigger word.
Dolly laughed as Dylan raced after his younger siblings protectively, leaving Dolly, Dawkins, and Dante on the porch.
I'd love a trip to the park.
Calypso smiled. She took one look back at her new home, wondering if she should inform Clarissa of her decision, but decided against it and followed her new Dalmatian friends across the road.
So you dressed up as a fairy dog and had to convince your brother it was a prank?
Calypso asked, sitting next to Dante on a park bench. Dolly and Dylan were on the grass in front of them, watching all the other puppies play and terrorize the park guests. Yeah, we took it too far, Dante shrugged. In our defense, though, he never should have disturbed those bones. Even if they didn't belong to Cerberus, they belonged to someone.
I agree. Leave the dead to rest.
Calypso nodded.
It would be cool if it really was Cerberus, though. Although when it comes to characters from Greek mythology, I've always preferred the goddess Persephone.
Me too, Dante said, wide-eyed. She was such a powerful goddess.
And not to mention she was married to one of the only gods who wasn't a complete jerk.
Calypso said, laughing a little. You know, I've got a book on Greek gods and goddesses, Dante said. You could borrow it sometime if you want.
Oh, I'd love to.
Calypso smiled, wagging her docked tail. Dolly glanced behind Dante and noticed his usually saggy tail was raised a bit as well. Ahem! Calypso! Came Hugo's voice as he and Clarissa searched the park. He didn't sound like that. Where are you? Oh gosh. Where are you, girl? The human and Corgi... Oh my. The human and Corgi had a look of disapproval on their faces. Shocked that their new roommate would leave without so much as looking at the interior of the house.
Shoot, I should go.
Calypso sighed, jumping down from the park bench on her short legs.
I'll talk to you later, though, Hellhound.
She smirked back at Dante before padding off towards Hugo. Dante watched her leave and suddenly noticed that Dylan and Dolly had taken residence on either side of him, each of them staring at him with a dumb look plastered on their spotted faces. What? Dante asked, ear sagging.
Dude, you're totally into Clarissa's cousin.
Dolly laughed, punching him in the shoulder. Dante rubbed the spot on his arm where she'd hit him and scrunched up his nose at his older sister. Am not. We just met each other. We like some of the same things. You were flirting with her, Dylan laughed. Not very well, but you were definitely flirting. Was not, Dante growled, arching the fur on his back. I was talking to her.
It's okay, dude. I think she likes you back.
Dolly smiled warmly. Ew! I don't want her to like me back because I don't want her to like me back because I don't like her that way. Dante whimpered. You don't think that she thought I was flirting with her, do you? Hard to say, Dylan thought. Just be careful. She clearly finds you charming. If you get too friendly, she might think you have a crush on her. I don't want that! Dante said worriedly. I just want to be her friend, I swear. I didn't mean to sound like I was flirting. I was just talking about mythology with her. Oh, how did I get into this mess? He flopped down on the bench and covered his face with his paws and ears. Dolly and Dylan frowned at each other. Yeah, Dolly and Dilly frowned at each other. So, hey, it's all right, Dante. Hey, it's all right, Dante. Dylan sighed. Dolly and I were just messing with you. If you don't see her that way, that's fine. Just stay friends with her.
Yeah, it's good for you to make friends. We won't mess with you anymore.
Dolly said assuringly. Good, Dante sighed, moving his ears enough to see them. Just promise me that you'll help me keep from accidentally leading her on. I don't want to hurt her feelings or anything.
I'll do my best.
Dolly said, smiling sympathetically down at him. Me too, Dylan nodded in agreement. The next day, Calypso had met Dante and the rest of the Dalmatians in their backyard. The pups were playing, running, digging, and jumping on their big trampoline. Dante and Calypso were lying on the front porch of Dylan's treehouse. Looking through the Greek mythology book Dante had promised to let Calypso borrow. I feel like Hera was justified in a lot of her actions, Dante said as they finished skimming over a page about the goddess of marriage. Zeus did her wrong so often.
Agreed. Zeus is definitely one of the worst deities in history.
Calypso nodded. A flash of light caught their attention, and the pups on the ground gasped. looking up at the clouded skies and waiting nervously. 1, 2, 3. Dante began to whisper, looking up at the clouds. The faint sound of thunder reached their ears. Some of the pups on the ground shrieked in horror and ran inside. Some shouted in joy and begged Dylan to let them keep playing when the rain started. Dante let out a sigh, watching his siblings. Yes, be happy while you can, for this storm can only mean one thing.
What's that?
Calypso asked, causing Dante to bite his tongue before shouting out that the end of the world was upon them. He sat up, shoulders hunched nervously. It's just something I do sometimes, he admitted nervously. I sometimes get these visions. He swallowed, avoiding eye contact. He'd never been afraid to talk about his gifts before, but for some reason he was afraid of scaring Calypso away with his predictions.
Vision? Like a prophet?
The corgi tilted her head, scanning Dante with an uncertain look. Sorta, Dante breathed, his ears flopping into his face. Sorry, I know that's weird, and they hardly ever come true.
Do these visions come true sometimes, though?
Calypso asked. I guess you could say that, Dante shrugged. Calypso looked at him for a few agonizingly quiet moments before a usual smile returned to her snout.
That's amazing!
She beamed.
I mean, it sounds scary, but it's cool at the same time.
Oh, I thought you'd think I was crazy or that I was making it up for attention. Dante loosened up a bit, confused as to why she hadn't run down a tree laughing yet.
No, I understand completely.
Calypso smiled reassuringly.
I used to get these weird feelings sometimes, like something bad was gonna happen. It messed with me so bad that I wouldn't leave one spot for days at a time. My old pet took me to the vet for my behavior and they gave me some kind of prescription, so I don't feel that way as often anymore.
Did bad things ever happen when you felt that way? Dante asked curiously.
Occasionally.
Calypso shrugged.
It could be argued that it was just a coincidence, I guess. I don't think it was, though, and it still bothers me that the humans took that away from me. I feel like my weird feelings could have been useful. What if I was able to predict the end of the world as we know it?
Exactly! Dante whispered, wide-eyed. I want to be able to understand my predictions well enough to protect my family from the end times. Sometimes I think they just see me as crazy.
Well, I don't see you as crazy.
Calypso said, ears folding back as she smiled. Dante was breathtaking. No one had ever been so kind to him before. His proclamations of doomsday had always been scoffed at. No one had ever taken them seriously before. Calypso! Calypso barked from the other side of the fence. Come inside at once! One mustn't ruin one's coat in the rain. Calypso let out an annoyed growl as she and Dante looked down at Clarissa from the treehouse.
Stupid fancy rich corgis.
She hissed through gritted teeth.
I've gotta go, Dante. I'll bring your book back tomorrow. Is that okay?
That's fine by me. You can keep it longer if you need to. Dante shrugged.
Thanks.
Calypso smiled as she started carefully hopping down the steps.
Promise me you'll come warn me if the Promise me you'll Promise me you'll come warn me if the world is about to end, alright?
Sure, Dante agreed. As long as you come... Oh dear. As long as you come tell me if you get any bad feelings.
Absolutely.
Calypso smirked. She took the book in her mouth and scampered to the hole she dug. Scampered to the hole she dug under the fence. After she disappeared into Clarissa's house, Dante felt a strange sensation. He turned around and gasped at his tail, wagging uncontrollably. "Oh no!" he whined, backing into the treehouse and chasing it in a circle to try and get it to stop. "Stop it, Tail!" he commanded. "Stop it right now! We do not like Calypso. If you keep wagging, Dolly will never let me live it down." He finally plopped down on the floor, sitting on his tail to keep it from moving any more. He let out a sigh and tried to focus on keeping his tail still before standing up again. "Dante, come inside! There's a storm on the way!" Dylan called from the ground. "I know! I foretold it!" Dante responded, rolling his eyes. He shook himself off and made sure his tail was back to its usual flat and wagless self before leaving the treehouse and going inside to join his family for dinner. Dante had been up all night practicing keeping his tail still, even when it wanted to act like a propeller. By the time Calypso came scratching at the doggy door the next morning, he was a master at it. "I'll get it," he declared, darting past Dylan to answer the door. Dylan smirked a little, but reminded himself not to tease his brother. He and Dolly had promised to leave Dante and Calypso alone. Dante pressed his paw against the scanner on the door and it lit up green. Calypso didn't even wait for him to say it was open. She just let herself in, dropping the book on the floor.
She's awful!
The corgi groaned, fur arched and teeth bared.
She's literally the worst thing on 4 legs.
"Who is?" Dante asked, tilting his head to one side.
Clarissa!
Calypso whined.
She's all high and mighty and fancy. She wants me to be a prissy little lapdog like her.
"Oh." "Oh," Dante sighed, knowing good and well how Clarissa could be sometimes. Their neighbor had been making snarky remarks and cruel jokes towards the Dalmatian family for as long as he could remember. Why she and her rich human didn't just move to a different street was beyond him. From his perspective, it seemed like they were the ones making things harder on themselves by willingly staying squished right next to their house.
I hate that awful house.
Calypso complained, wandering into the Dalmatian living room with Dante behind her, carrying his book. A few puppies were playing tug-of-war and chasing their tail in the room, and only paused for a moment when Calypso entered.
You don't even have chew toys. Clarissa says that chewing and slobbering is a mutt's job. What the heck is that supposed to mean?
Calypso continued. Dante returned his book to the shelf before following Calypso into the center of the living room.
And worst of all, she wants me to attend one of her tea parties this afternoon.
The corgi huffed, plopping down on the hardwood floor.
What do those prissy powder puffs even do at those things? See who can stick their nose up the furthest?
Dante smiled a little at the remark, then frowned again and had to focus on keeping his tail still.
I so don't want to go to this stupid thing.
Calypso whimpered.
I don't fit in, and I'm gonna be so bored.
Her ears stood up suddenly and she turned to look at Dante.
Wait a second. Why don't you come with me?
She asked. What? Dante's ears sank behind his head and a few of the other puppies giggled.
Please, Dante, I'll be miserable without you there. Just come sit with me and I'll make it up to you somehow later.
Calypso begged. Clarissa would never... Clarissa... Oh my. Clarissa will never allow Dalmatian onto her property, let alone one of her tea parties. Dante looked down at his paws.
Clarissa isn't the only one who lives there anymore.
Calypso reminded him.
It's my house now too, and I want you to be my guest. Please, just say you'll do it.
She looked up at him with big green puppy dog eyes and a pouty lip. Fine, I guess. Dante sighed. His eyes widened as the corgi... Excuse me. His eyes widened as the corgi's paws wrapped around his neck in a tight embrace.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you! I owe you a big... Ugh. I owe you big time, Dante. I'll see you at lunch.
She let him go and rushed back out the doggy door, leaving him sitting there frozen. Whoa, look! One of his younger siblings gasped, finally pulling Dante back to reality. Dante's tail's wagging! Dee and Dizzy said in unison. Dolly appeared behind him as if she'd been summoned, and Dante jumped up onto four paws, tucking his tail behind him nervously. No, it wasn't! He said defensively. He could see the look in his older sister's eyes as she fought off laughter. He hated being laughed at, especially by 98 siblings with 196 eyes looking at him.
Okay, it's alright.
Dolly said, clearing her throat to keep from laughing.
I believe you, girls. Go back to your game and leave poor Dante alone.
She instructed. Dizzy, Dee, and the other puppies returned their attention to the toys and bones they'd been busy with before, and Dolly walked out of the room with Dante.
So what was all that about?
Dolly asked.
I thought I saw you get a hug.
It's nothing! Dante barked quickly, letting his ears obscure his face from Dolly's line of sight. She was just thanking me for agreeing to go to Clarissa's tea party this afternoon. That's all.
She invited you to lunch?
Dolly gasped. Yeah, so? Dante risked looking up at his sister's stunned face. Not a big deal, right?
Huge deal!
Dolly shouted.
Clarissa's tea parties are fancy, and the dogs that attend them are fancy. I think she really likes you, Dante.
What? No! Dante looked around, making sure no other pups were listening in on their conversation. She just didn't want to go alone. It's not like a date or anything. It's just lunch in her backyard.
If you say so, I guess.
Dolly rolled her eyes.
But still, Clarissa's tea parties are for fancy dogs. Maybe we should ask Dylan for help getting ready. Maybe we should ask Dylan for help getting you ready to go.
Right? Ready to go? Dante whined. I was just gonna go as I am now.
Sorry, I felt like you... I zoned out for a bit and I thought you read that line bad. Okay. You can't!
Dolly gasped.
Trust me, Dante, I would love Trust me, Dante, I would love nothing more than to send you over there covered in dirt. The look on Clarissa's face would be priceless. But if you want to be Calypso's friend, you can't embarrass her in front of her family.
Embarrass her? I thought she liked me for who I was. Why would she be embarrassed by me? Dante sank back a bit, feeling hurt.
Let's just talk to Dylan. As much as I hate to admit it, his perspective might be useful.
Unfortunately, Dylan was more than willing to share his... For the love of Pete, I ruined that. Unfortunately, Dylan was more than willing to share his perspective. And just as Dante... For the love of it! And just as Dante suspected, his older brother agreed with Dolly. You need to bathe and wear something nice, Dylan had stated, marching around the house to try and help Dante get ready for his lunch date. You can borrow one of Dad's old bow ties, and wash your fur of Triple D's good shampoo. His paws waved around as if you were conducting an orchestra.
There's gotta be something we can do about those bags under your eyes.
Destiny said, appearing behind Dante with Dallas and Deja Vu as if they'd been part of this conversation the whole time.
It looks like he hasn't even slept in months.
Dallas commented.
Dante, have you ever, blinked?
Deja Vu giggled. Dante lowered himself and tried backing away from his siblings. Can't you just leave me alone? He whined. I don't want to do any of this. I'm only going to this stupid lunch thing because Calypso didn't want to be alone.
We're only trying to help you, Dante.
Dolly sighed.
We want you to make a good impression.
Yeah, yeah, Dylan agreed, patting behind Dante and pushing him back into the group. Calypso may seem laid back and fun when you two are together, but when she's at Clarissa's tea party, it'll be a completely different story.
You want to fit in, don't you?
Destiny narrowed her eyes at him. Dante looked at the ground and sighed, not answering. Fitting in was never his strong point. He was a black-furred Dalmatian with white spots for crying out loud. If he couldn't fit in his own family photos, how was he supposed to fit in anywhere else? Reluctantly, he let his siblings help him get ready for lunch. He drew the line on some of their suggestions, but he accepted the fancy shampoo and the bow tie collar.
You're ready.
Dallas sighed happily once they'd finished their minuscule makeover.
Now go enjoy your date.
It's not a date. Dante had growled through his teeth as he went out the door.
Dante?
Calypso asked, tilting her head in confusion as she entered the front door.
What are you wearing?
Dante looked nervously at the light blue bow tie collar around his neck. It felt weird to have something so soft and light against his fur instead of his usual spiked leather collar. Nice, he said, clearing his throat. I can go change if you want me to.
You kind of cut out at the start of that line.
Of course. Dylan and Dolly wanted me to look nice, he said, clearing his throat. I can go change if you want me to. He couldn't help but notice that she was wearing a diamond-studded collar over her red bandana.
No, you're fine. It just surprised me for a bit.
Calypso smiled.
Come on in. Clarissa and her friends are already in the backyard.
Dante felt like his legs were shaking as he followed Calypso through the house and into his neighbor's yard. The yard that had always seemed so untouchable from his view of it through the holes in the fence. The holes in the fence! Dante suddenly remembered that his siblings could spy on him. He risked a glance by the peephole, and sure enough, there were several faces pushing against each other to try and see what was happening. He looked upward and saw Dolan, Dilly, and Dagnabbit. Yeah, Dagnabbit is the 102nd Dalmatian of the family.
Amazing.
He looked upward and saw Dolly, Dylan, and Triple D on the ledge of the treehouse. They were giving him smiles and signs of encouragement. He decided to try and ignore them. Ugh. Calypso's voice drew his attention to the gazebo in front of them. What is that riffraff doing here? She growled.
I invited him as my guest.
Calypso smirked, hopping onto a chair and let's say monitoring, and motioning for Dante to take the one next to her. Don't you know there's a no mutts allowed policy? Clarissa huffed.
You're here, aren't you?
Calypso shrugged.
And you have 2 guests. I just have 1. If you want, though, I can make Dante leave and invite Dolly instead.
No! Clarissa said quickly. Calypso nudged Dante in the side and smirked. He half smiled back at her. Fine, the Dalmatian can stay, Clarissa groaned. He'd better be on his best behavior. Thank you, Clarissa, Dante said, bowing his head a bit. The corgi just turned away from him, but her 2 friends smiled a bit before returning their attention to the biscuits and tea their owners had set out for them. Hugo noticed that Calypso and Dante had joined the table and fetched a small saucer and teacup for each of them. Dante watched him set treats on their plates before returning to his human friends on a picnic table in the sun. He'd never paid Hugo much attention before, but he seemed like a nice enough human. He just happened to have a very spoiled dog. How was your trip to Fiji last week, Arabella? Clarissa asked after licking her tea a bit. Oh, it was lovely, Eliza Apso replied, swishing back her long-furred ears. Hotel was beautiful. I hardly ever left. Hardly ever left to see the rest of the place. Calypso leaned over to Dante.
Why even spend money to go to Why even spend money to go on vacation if you're just gonna stay in the hotel?
She asked in a whisper.
Hotels here are just as nice, I bet.
Maybe she didn't maybe she didn't really go to Fiji, Dante whispered back. I bet her owner just taped pictures of a beach onto the windows of their living room. Calypso snickered, and Dante allowed his tail to wag just a bit. Oh, Dante! Clarissa said suddenly. He bit his tongue and sat up straight. Had she heard him? Was she angry? Had he embarrassed Calypso? When does your family go on holiday? The corgi had a sly grin on her muzzle, but Dante couldn't tell if it was her being malicious or if she just always looked that way. Well, sometimes we go to Cornwall. He swallowed shyly. Clarissa and her friends all laughed. He ducked his head a bit. What had he done wrong? He'd answer her question. What else did she want from him? Cornwall! Oy. Cornwall? Clarissa wiped a single tear from her eye. You poor thing. You've never been out of England before, have you? They laughed some more, and Dante's ears folded back as he stared down at his paws.
I hear Cornwall's a beautiful place,
Calypso said.
Dante, will you please let me know next time your family visits? I'd love to tag along.
Oh, you're sure you wouldn't rather go to Fiji? Dante asked shyly.
Oh, please, why go out of the way to see beauty when it's right in our own backyards?
Calypso shrugged.
When I lived in the US, I never went anywhere outside of Manhattan, and I still saw things that amazed me every day. I want to enjoy all of England before venturing out elsewhere.
She smiled at him. He smiled back, feeling less nervous now. Whatever, Clarissa sighed, rolling her eyes. You two can go wherever you want for all I care. A flash of light caught Dante's attention, and he turned it back to the treehouse. Goodness. Dylan had used the reflection of his star tag to get him to look their way. Dolly was holding up a sign with Da Vinci that read to eat the biscuits. He hadn't realized he wasn't eating until now. Maybe his nervousness had kept him from taking a bite. His siblings were right. If he didn't eat anything, he'd come off as rude. He forced himself to eat the 2 dog treats on his plate. His eyes opened wide after swallowing. He'd expected the fancy treats to be dry and bland, but they were the opposite. They were chewy, just like his favorite snacks at home, and each bite was packed with more flavor than 10 bowls of kibble could ever provide. 2 was not enough. He looked at the plate in the center of the table where a few more treats had been placed. Then he turned to Calypso. Could I get some more? He asked in a quiet tone while the other dogs chatted.
I don't see why not.
Calypso shrugged.
Grab me some too.
Dante smiled. Maybe this tea party wasn't so bad after all. If he could get past the dressing... Pardon me. If he could get past the dressing up and the condescending conversations, he might actually enjoy it. He put his front paw on the table and stood on his back legs to reach for the chewy biscuits. Just as he'd reached the center of the table, he wondered if having all his weight pressed on one paw was a good idea. Right as he was considering backing up, the table flipped, tossing tea and treats everywhere as he fell onto the ground. Clarissa and her friends screamed. The humans rushed to aid their frightened dogs. Dante sat up, covered in tea and biscuits. Don't worry, darlings, we'll clean you up right away, the humans were saying as they ran to their dogs and scooped them into their arms. They carried the whining pooches into the house, slamming the sliding glass door closed behind them. Dante felt like crying. Suddenly he realized that Calypso was still outside with him. Calypso, I'm so sorry, he shouted, shaking off his fur. I didn't mean to embarrass you, I swear He paused. Calypso was laughing. Not just laughing, but rolling on the ground and holding her stomach laughing. What's so funny? He asked, worrying that the answer was him and how clumsy he was.
See the look on Clarissa's face?
Calypso said between spurts of laughter. She sat up, still unable to control herself.
She was absolutely mortified. I would pay big money to see that again.
So, you're not mad at me? Dante tilted his head.
No way! That was amazing!
Calypso giggled.
You saw her face, didn't you?
Dante went over the events in his mind and thought back on the faces of Clarissa and her stuck-up friends. He smiled, his tail wagging. I guess it was pretty funny, he admitted.
It was hilarious!
Calypso snorted.
They're going to be whining about this for years!
She forced herself to stop laughing and adjusted her posture and ears to mimic Clarissa.
Oh heavens, that riffraff got a splash of tea on my nail! I practically died!
She said in a mocking tone. Dante was laughing now too. Just a little at first, but the more Calypso laughed, the more he laughed too. Eventually, they weren't even sure what was funny anymore. They were just lying side by side in the grass, laughing too hard to breathe.
We have to stop!
Calypso said. I mean, okay, we can't stop right around. Final thoughts, everyone?
You know what? That was funny. It was pretty funny. I gotta say, very funny.
Alright, we'll see you all for episode 102.
Why, are you guys actually stopping?
No.
Okay.
No.
There's some classic storytime humor from me.
That was just too perfect.
Calypso said, trying as hard as she could to catch her breath. I know! Dante wheezed. My stomach hurts so bad.
Mine too!
Calypso agreed, and they laughed some more. Look! Came Dee Dee's voice from the other side of the fence. Is Dante laughing? Wow!
Wow!
Came a chorus of other Dalmatian voices. Dante shook himself off and stood up. He offered Calypso a paw and helped her stand as well.
Oh, thank you, Dante. Not only did you make this tea party thing fun, you made it end early too.
Calypso smiled. I have that effect on parties, Dante joked.
Well, hopefully not all parties.
Calypso smiled.
I talked to some of the local dogs and found out that Portia is throwing a non-party party in a graveyard this weekend. What the hell is a non-party?
Portia is a dog of a different color. She's more gloomy and goth-like than Dante is.
Okay. It seemed up your alley, so do you want to go with me?
She asked. Dante's eyes widened. Whereas the invitation to the tea party had been more of a favor, this was a real invitation. Was this a real date? Were Dolly and Dylan right? He still didn't like Calypso like that. Sure, she was fun, but he just wanted to be friends. He couldn't tell her no, though, could he? Sure. He swallowed.
This
Calypso cheered happily.
sounds great. I think we'll have a good time. And if it's boring, we can flip a table over to liven it up a bit.
Dante smiled genuinely. Sounds like a plan, he agreed.
I need to go check on Clarissa. And I
Calypso,
imagine... Ooh, whoops.
Calypso sighed.
And I imagine you want... Oh my god. And I imagine you want to get that tea out of your fur.
A little bit, Dante said, scratching at the itchy feeling of the tea seeping under his fur.
Alright, thanks for coming today. I'll see you later.
Calypso smiled. She gave him a quick hug, freezing him in place again.
Bye, Dante.
She let him go and headed back inside. Bye, he sighed.
Dante, come out already. You're making this a bigger deal than it needs to be.
Dolly groaned. She, Dylan, and a few other pups were standing in front of a closed kitchen cabinet. Dante had climbed inside shortly after getting home from Clarissa's tea party, and now he was refusing to come out again. I hope he showered before he did that. That'd be super gross. Usually the others would leave him alone to sulk about the end times until he moved on. But this was more serious. No! I'm not coming out ever again! I'm going to stay in here until I die! Dante's muffled voice growled from the other side of the cabinet. He's going to die? Dee Dee asked as she and Dizzy looked up worriedly at Dawkins. Dawkins rolled his eyes before answering the girls. No, he's just being overly dramatic. He'll be fine. He thought of something to distract the younger puppies with. Why don't you go and find some of your favorite chew toys to try and lure him out with? He suggested. He knew good and well a few rubber chickens and some squeaky balls weren't enough to... A few rubber chickens and some squeaky balls weren't enough to break through to Dante, but at least it got the younger siblings away for the time being. Look, I'm sure things will work out, Dylan said. Dylan said in the most encouraging tone he could muster at the moment. Who knows, maybe Calypso will change her mind and not want to go after all. He shrugged. That's the problem, Dante whined, finally cracking the door open enough to see their faces. I want to go to the not party. I want to hang out with her because I really do like her. I just don't like her that way. He slammed the door closed again. It's all your fault, he whined in the darkness. I was happy with Calypso as my friend, and then you two had to get in my head and screw everything up. Why couldn't you just leave me alone? Dolly and Dylan looked at each other, hoping the other had something to say. Realizing Dylan was clueless, Dolly spoke up.
Well, at least you had a warning.
She growled defensively.
If we'd left you alone, you wouldn't have realized she had a crush on you until it was too late. At least now you can let her down slowly before you're in too deep.
It was quiet for a moment before the cabinet door opened slowly, revealing Dante inside. How do I do that? He asked, ears sagging. Dolly let out a relieved sigh. She'd honestly expected her argument to make things worse, not better.
It'll be easy. Just go to the knot party with her, and if she starts to get too touchy-feely, tell her you just want to be friends.
How do I know what's too touchy-feely? Dante asked, tilting his head to one side. Statistically speaking, hand-holding, prolonged eye contact, and leaning in closer are general signs of attraction, Dawkins listed matter-of-factly. Right, Dylan agreed. Also, dilated pupils, saggy ears, and a wagging tail, he added. Dante flinched a bit. His tail had wagged a few times at Clarissa's tea party when he wasn't keeping it in check. Maybe tail wagging didn't always mean what Dylan said it did.
If you remember those signs and watch out for them, you'll know when it's time to let her know you're not interested.
Dolly nodded. I am interested, Dante shrugged. Just not in that way. What do I say to keep from hurting her feelings? You can say, it's not you, it's me, Dawkins suggested.
Ugh, no!
Dolly growled.
Girls hate it when you say that.
Then say, it just isn't the right time, Dylan offered.
Don't do that either!
Dolly yelled.
Who trained you to? No wonder you don't have girlfriends.
That's the pot calling the kettle black and white, Dolly. She rolled her eyes and turned to Dante.
Just tell her the truth. That you like her, but you just want to be her friend. If she gets mad, then you shouldn't be friends with her anyways.
She said softly. Okay, Dante swallowed nervously. I can do that.
Sure you can.
Dolly smiled.
It'll be just fine, and we'll be here for you no matter what.
The day finally arrived. Dante spent the entire morning pacing back and forth, and the afternoon chewing his nails. He tried to remain calm, but there were so many things to worry about.
Dante!
Dolly called out as the sun began to set that evening.
Calypso's here!
Dante took a couple of deep breaths and came out of his hiding place in the elevator. He found Calypso in the living room with Dizzy and Dee Dee. She didn't notice that he'd come in right away. Because the girl had roped her into one of their games. His little sisters had blankets tied around their necks like capes, and masks made of paper from Da Vinci's sketchbook. They were running around in circles around Calypso, shouting that they had flying superpowers. Calypso didn't look annoyed. In fact, she was smiling. She pretended to snap at their capes and pull them... Oh my. She pretended to snap at their capes and pull them out of the sky like she was some kind of dangerous monster. After a moment, Dizzy stopped and held her fist out towards the corgi, making a pew sound with her mouth. Calypso gasped and put her front paws over her chest before falling over backwards and playing dead. Dante smiled a little as her sister cheered and ran victory laps around the corgi.
Not so fast.
Calypso said from her place on the ground.
You may have defeated the evil sea monster, but you have yet to vanquish her partner.
Partner? Dizzy asked. Who is it? Dee Dee joined in.
Dante, the disaster dog!
Calypso shouted in a dramatic tone, pointing across the room at an unsuspecting Dante. Get him! Pete's sake. Get him! Dee Dee shouted, and the girls rushed towards their brother. Oh no. Dante didn't have time to react before being tackled to the ground by the two surprisingly strong puppies. Okay, I surrender! He begged as they held him down.
Good job, girls. You saved the city once again.
Calypso smirked, padding over to help Dante stand. Again! Izzy cheered. Let's play again!
Some other time, maybe.
Calypso said, ears folding back in hopes they didn't give her their puppy dog eyes.
Dante and I have to get going.
Aw, can't we come with you? Dee Dee asked. Not this time, Dante answered. It'll be your bedtime soon. Dylan came into the room before the girls could beg any more, and distracted them with a comic book he'd found about an old super dog named Thunderbolt. Nice reference. With Dizzy and Dee Dee taken care of, Dante and Calypso made their way outside and down the sidewalk. Dante noticed Clarissa watching him with a look of disapproval as they passed their house. He held himself low and sped up a bit to escape her glare. The sun had sunk behind the clouds by the time they got to the graveyard. The place was already packed with moody teenage dogs and cats. Dante also spotted Fergus and the canal crew taking advantage of the bones Portia had set out for her not-party guests.
Jeez, I mean, I knew a knot party in a graveyard would be dull, but I didn't expect such a bland taste in music.
Calypso said, tilting her head. Portia can be a little overkill on the golf sometimes. Dante rolled his eyes. You can be gloomy without being boring.
Exactly.
Calypso smiled.
See, you get me.
Dante bit his tongue. Maybe he shouldn't have said anything. Now he was panicking, trying to remember all the signs Dawkins and Dylan told him to look out for. Her dock tail was wagging, but was it because she liked him, or was she just having a good time at the party?
So, how many of these sad sacks do you know?
She asked, pulling him out of the whirlpool of things his brain had created. Just Portia, Spencer, and the canal crew. Dante shrugged. I don't really know any of them well. He tried to think of a time when he hung out with any of them without one of his siblings involved. The only instance he could think of was when he and Portia pranked Dylan, but that hadn't ended well and the poodle hadn't spoken to him since. He hoped his friendship with Calypso didn't end that badly.
Coming from a big family must be hard sometimes.
Calypso said, once again saving him from himself.
How do you get time to yourself?
It's not as difficult as you might think, Dante sighed. I don't connect with a lot of my siblings, so I tend to stick to myself mostly.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, can we pause for a second? I need to use the bathroom.
Alright.
I don't know how much longer you guys plan on going.
There's
I mean,
still a bit to go through.
We're
Okay.
like the last fourth of the story.
Oh dang, really? Huh.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute then.
I mean, I also had to use the restroom, so I guess I'll take advantage of this.
Alright. Guess it's up to me to provide quality entertainment in the form of comedy.
Nothing I'll have to apologize for in 5 years, please.
I'll keep it safe.
Thank you.
Alright, I hate to say it, but I actually don't have any jokes prepared. But dang, I wanted to think of a pun with the word dog. Right now the only thing I got in my mind is doggone. And I'm like, that's not funny. That's not funny, that's basically swearing. It's like, swearing's not comedy.
I hate swearing. That's why I swear. That's actually really bad. That's really bad. That's awful.
Uh, hmm. Dang, I really got nothing to talk about. I've just been playing fucking gotchas all day. Oh, I need to do something about that. Oh, that's so awful. Uh, Gee, I wonder who will get back first, Harry or Scrappy. Harry got a head start, so he might be back first. Oh,
Oh, I don't know if the mic picked that up. If it did, oh, that's bad.
well, could have been worse. It could have been worse. Could have been my dad. Could have been my brother. Had music on this entire time. I think I should switch the song. Just this. It's just been this one song this entire time. I think I should. I think it's time to switch it. What the? Why is this one all the way down here? Hello, iTunes? Oh! Oh, no. I'm not looking at album sorting. I'm looking at recently added. That's why. Someone returns. Who could it be? Oh, Scrappy's muted, so I guess we know who it is.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Ugh. What happened to Scrappy?
He also went to the bathroom.
Oh, fair enough.
To be fair, the only reason I'm not going to the bathroom is because I felt I should hold down the fort with something.
How about that Pecola?
How about that, Pecola?
Does she also get bullied in the other seasons?
Yeah.
Aw.
That's kind of Pecola's whole joke.
Yeah, she's like the main punching bag. It's really sad.
Yeah, but at least she doesn't get beat up and physically tortured like Jashin.
I guess.
And I'm back.
Hello.
Yo.
So where were we? It's not as difficult as you might think. Dante's side, I'm connected with my siblings, so I'm gonna stick to myself mostly. There we are. I'm sorry about that. Calypso gave a sympathetic look with her eyes lowering behind her. Dante's mind started spinning again. Were her ears sagging? Dylan said that was a sign she liked him. Were her pupils dilated because she loved him, or was it because it was dark? Or because it was dark? It had only been seconds, but it felt like a lot longer. Had it been a lot longer? Had she been staring at him for that long? Was it prolonged eye contact? She wished Dawkins had been more specific on how long was prolonged.
Are you okay?
Calypso asked. Yeah. Dante coughed nervously. Just a little uncomfortable is all.
We can leave if you need to.
Calypso stood up, ready to ditch the graveyard if that was what Dante wanted. No, it's okay. Maybe we should just go get something to eat, he suggested. The short corgi followed him towards some bones that had been set out on a picnic blanket.
Clarissa would kill me if she was knew. Clarissa would kill me if she knew I was going to chew on this.
Calypso said, picking up a bone and sniffing at it. I can go get something else for you if you need, Dante offered.
No, I like bones. Thank you, though. It was sweet of you to offer.
Calypso smiled. Shoot, he hadn't meant to be sweet. He couldn't help it. He just wanted her to be happy and comfortable all the time. He wondered what Gosh darn it. He wondered what Dylan and Dolly would say if they knew that. Probably something dumb.
Dante, dude! Who's your friend?
Fergus asked, appearing by the black Dalmatian side. Oh, this is Calypso, Dante introduced. Calypso, this is my brother's friend Fergus.
Pleasure to meet you, Fergus.
Calypso smiled, holding out a paw to shake.
The pleasure's all mine.
Fergus replied in a smooth tone, taking Calypso's paw into his own and kissing the back of it instead of shaking. Calypso took her paw back with a nervous smile, backing away just a bit, but not enough to offend the fox. Dante wasn't sure why, but watching Fergus kiss Calypso's paw made him feel something. Anger? Maybe jealousy? No. The only way he'd be jealous is if he liked Calypso that way, which he didn't. He told himself that he only felt angry because of how uncomfortable it made his friend look. He casually stepped between the two of them. Oh my. Let's take that from the top. He casually stepped between the two of them, and to get some distance between the two of them, and to get some distance between them before sitting down beside Calypso. He didn't like a smirk Fergus gave him afterwards, but he didn't say anything.
So what brings you two cuties to Portia's knot party?
The fox asked, grabbing a bone to chew on.
I'm new to Camden Town, so I wanted to get to know some of the locals, and I invited Dante to come with me.
Calypso explained.
Well, you picked the right hound to show you around.
Fergus said.
Dante's family knows every inch of this place by now. Good to know.
Calypso said, smiling at Dante. He felt like she was leaning closer to him than she had been before. Was it because she was nervous about Fergus, or was it one of those signs Dawkins warned him about?
And if you ever get into any trouble, just give the canal crew a woof.
Fergus continued.
I'll teach any punk that crosses you a lesson.
He punched his fists together.
Thanks, but I think I can handle myself.
Calypso replied.
I lived on the rougher side of New York City for most of my life. Suit yourself.
Fergus shrugged.
My offer still stands.
He crammed the bone he'd been chewing. He'd been chewing into his mouth and pranced off with Big Fee and Sid. Ignore him, Dante said once the fox was out of. Dante said fox was. Oh my. Dante said once the fox was out of earshot. He means well, but he can come across as rude sometimes.
It's fine. He reminds me of my great uncle.
Calypso admitted.
The dog who taught me how to survive in the city and gave me my bandana.
Dante looked at the faded red bandana around the corgi's neck again. It looked like it had seen better days. The music picked up just a bit, and Calypso's ears stood tall.
Hey, I know this one.
She said excitedly.
I mean, it's not a favorite of mine by any means, but I know it. Dante, I know this song. Does that mean I fit in?
She placed her paw on top of his and looked up to him for an answer.
Dante?
We want to be friends! Dante blurted, jerking his paw away from hers and backing away.
What?
Calypso asked, tilting her head. Shoot. What were the things Dolly told him to say? Everything felt 10 times harder than before, and all his memories were bunching together. It's not you, No, wait, it is you, not me. He stuttered. Somehow that didn't feel right either, and the look Calypso was giving him was only making him more nervous. Now's not... it is the right time. I'm just not interested, and I'm interested at the same time.
Dante, what are you talking about?
Calypso asked, ears folding back a bit.
Is this some British thing I don't understand?
I don't want to be your boyfriend, okay? Dante shouted, fur arching. I just want to be friends with you, but you have a crush on me and it's not going to work. I don't like you like that, so just leave me alone. He didn't stop to look at her expression. He knew he wouldn't want to see it. Instead, he turned and ran away from the knot party, stopping behind a lone tombstone and sitting down in the dark. Ears hung over his face. After a moment, he heard dead leaves crunching under paws.
Dante, are you alright?
Calypso asked softly from the other side of the tombstone. No, Dante replied, letting out a heavy sigh. I wanted to be friends with you. I like you a lot, and you get me better than any dog I ever has before. I've never had a real friend before, so I was really excited when I met you.
What changed?
Calypso questioned, rounding the corner and sitting beside him. Nothing, I thought. Dante shrugged. But Dolly and Dylan said you had a crush on me and that I had to do all this stuff to impress you and keep from leading you on at the same time. I listened because I was scared of losing you, but I just can't do it anymore. I don't want a girlfriend, I just wanted a friend. He let out another long sigh, letting his ears obscure his face from her sight. I guess I'm just meant to be alone, though.
Dante, I think you're really great, but I wasn't looking for a relationship either.
Calypso said, forcing a half smile. You weren't? Dante looked at her, confused. But Dolly and Dylan said...
Dolly and Dylan don't know what I'm thinking.
Calypso interrupted.
I'm new to this city and I don't know anyone. You were the first dog I felt like I connected with. I never wanted to make you think I had a crush on you or anything like that. I just wanted the same thing you did. To make a friend.
Dante stared at the corgi, wondering how on earth he'd let Dylan and Dolly psych him out so badly that he made such a big deal out of nothing. Well, to be fair, making big deals out of nothing was something he did a lot. But this one could have easily been avoided. Oh, now I mucked everything up. He sighed, burying his face in his paws. This is really awkward.
I'm not gonna lie to you, dude. It is extremely awkward.
Calypso said, laughing a little.
I don't want to lose you as a friend, though. Is there anything I can do to fix this?
Dante tried to think for a moment. We could do like they do in New York and forget about it? He suggested. Calypso snorted back a laugh.
Okay, sure. As long as you agree to never do that again.
She giggled. Dante smiled back at her, his tail beginning to wag behind him. Deal, he breathed. It only took a few days for things to return to normal. It felt so nice to be able to hang out with Calypso without having to worry about what he said or did. When Dante told Dolly and Dylan what happened, they were very embarrassed. They apologized to both dogs multiple times. While Dante and Calypso were able to move on like nothing had happened, his older siblings were still awkward around Calypso, fearing that she was mad at them. She wasn't, but she never told them otherwise. She told Dante it was because she liked having other dogs feel like she was upset with them. It made it easier to blackmail them if she needed something in the future. Dante liked that about her. While the two of them were still teased by Dante's younger siblings and the Canal crew, they ignored them. They also agreed to always be honest with each other, and asked if they had a question. That way, future awkwardness could be avoided. Still, though, sometimes when Dante was watching Calypso play with Dizzy and Dee Dee, his tail would wag. And deep down he'd wonder, what if he and the Corgi could be more than friends one day? He never dwelt on it. If the day came when they wanted to be more, he'd be ready for it. If not, he was just happy to have her as a friend. And that is the end of Hellhounds.
The end.
Surprised you guys got through that so quickly. It's not even been an hour and a half.
I'm surprised we got through it.
Yeah, like, when I think like 9,000 something words, I expect something that's gonna take like at least a couple of hours. I guess that's what happens when you don't have a lot of random like comments
Pros.
in the middle of it.
Well,
What the
I mean, yeah,
Pros?
Pros, P-R-O-S-E.
Yeah.
Look, Zero Chan 21, you did a great job. If you're trying to make a real lengthy one, well, we can't all be Scrappy Fan 92, sorry.
Wow. So I don't think, I don't think any of us were expecting to finish the story today. So what would we do for 102 then? Because that's still the Dalmatians joke. If we want to keep doing that.
You have a plan, Scrappy? Do you have another one lined up?
I thought this would take 2 episodes, and if we had more people, we probably would have.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, again, like when you don't have people making like snide comments every like few minutes, like it goes by pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice knowledge to keep in mind.
It is fun though.
For you, maybe.
Hey, it leads to comedy. We all like comedy, don't we?
Yeah.
Damn.
I didn't.
I see how it
didn't-
is.
I didn't have a.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say, Raiderman?
I didn't have a follow-up to that. No,
I don't know, some kind of sarcastic response.
Yeah. No, I thought the story itself was really cute.
Yeah.
Yes, the author clearly has a great grasp on the dynamics of the characters. Everyone feels in character. It's like this feels like a lost episode from the show, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And props to them for using Dante, who, barring a few episodes, was kind of just often used as a one-note joke. Not portrayed unsympathetically, but yeah, he generally had one gag, so
Was
it's
it
nice
the
to kind of see him.
visions?
He is a Doom prophet. If you ask him what his favorite favorite shooter is, Doom. His favorite Marvel villain, Doom.
so he's a doomer in a very literal sense.
Yeah.
He constantly predicts the apocalypse, man. This guy he's a mood. He is one mood, and it is a mood.
Yeah. Like, just the idea of like puppies like struggling with romance is just really adorable to me.
Literal puppy love.
Yeah.
You love to see it. Yep, I definitely like the writing of the story. I guess if I have any critique, it's that, yeah, I guess perhaps a little more variety in how characters react. Calypso smiled. I noticed that typed out basically the same way at least 5 times.
There was a lot of smiling.
Mm. The waggy tails.
Well, I mean, they're dogs. They kind
Yeah.
of can't help that.
No, I was just saying like, I like the wacky tails.
You know what, Scrappy? I'm gonna say it. I didn't think this was corny.
Is this
Good
the
for you, man.
is this the redemption arc?
Highest praise you'll get from Raider Van Zero Chan. Bask in it.
Yeah.
Better believe it.
Yeah, I mean, as someone that's like barely knows anything about 101 Dalmatians, like, yeah, it's just a nice little story.
Yes, I enjoyed reading through it, even with the multiple flubs. Again, we've been out of practice for some time.
Yeah.
Flubs are bound to happen when you don't read.
Yeah, for like nearly half a year.
Yeah, so we'll find something next episode. I guess it'll be Dalmatian related, and maybe we'll bundle it with the Simpsons story that's sent to us.
Yeah, one of us would have to is gonna have to go through that then.
That one of us is you, Harry. Have fun.
Probably. I mean, like, I skimmed through it. Like, the chapters are like barely over a page long. So like you don't even like need to really scroll through that much to see like the whole chapter. So it probably wouldn't take. It'd probably take like a couple, like 20-30 minutes for me to just go through that at some point.
So I'll have to look for another.
30 minutes for us to go through it.
Well, for story time, I don't know, because yeah.
We'd have to see how many characters are in those chapters, because I
Yeah.
I have enough cursory knowledge of The Simpsons, but I am definitely not equipped to voice all of them.
Yeah.
This feels like a Tanner episode.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay, so I will look for another Dalmatian story, hopefully one that's pretty short, and preferably one that's pretty short, let me say that.
Yeah, because I assume we want to keep the joke where it doesn't go past 102, but
Well, unfortunately, Disney never made 103 Dalmatians when the chance was there, so yeah, we have to stop at 102.
right.
So, we will do that for episode 102. Yeah, I can talk. Folks, I work in retail. I have to basically repeat the same 12 can lines to customers for 8 hours. It's wondrous.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Have there been any interesting fellas during work?
Someone donated a bong to us once.
Okay. Okay.
What?
What the hell?
We work at a donation store, and someone donated a bong to us.
Oh, okay. Still though, what the hell? What was your reaction?
Well, my manager was there, and I think she was the one who presented it to us. So, like, I can only say so much.
were you allowed to take it?
We had to put it in the office and like write up a report against note that we got the inventory, and we probably junked it after that.
Oh,
Okay.
I see.
We don't sell that stuff on the store floor, so we probably junked it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Actually, yeah, that makes sense.
Because I would definitely notice if it was on the shelves.
I just love how random that is.
You know, the thing is, that bong would look like it was in better condition than some of the other stuff we actually get.
Oh.
Oh my god.
Better condition, far cleaner than some of the stuff we get. Ugh. I'm so glad I work up front, not in donations primarily.
Yeah.
Like, watch your stuff, people. Seriously.
Yeah. People would just kind of dump stuff a lot of the time.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at gameplay that you're going through right now. They're like just sentient jiggies, basically. That looks kind of horrifying.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's an apt description of a lot of stuff Rare made, but still.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
And
put
also-
some eyes on it. Make it say something goofy.
Googly.
Like, that's fine. I'm fine with that, but like a puzzle piece that's like got a human body, even that's played for laughs, is like, that doesn't look right.
Yeah. Anyways,
You know what doesn't look right? Banjo's man paws. So anyway, 101 Dalmatians. I will
Yeah.
look for another story. We'll try to look for another story, and hopefully we'll read it next week so we can just, get some stuff done this year.
Yeah. So
Let's go 2024.
coming to the end of the year. When is our like anniversary stuff?
April.
April. Okay. Maybe we'll read.
So we
Some-
will have to cover the episode 100 story in the year 4 episode. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh man, that was amazing.
Hell yeah.
So we'll try to read another Dalmatian story and maybe the Simpsons story for episode 102. And after that, well, free for all. That may very well be the last episode we read we do for 2023.
Yeah, I was
Given
gonna
our
say because
trajectory.
we're coming very close to Christmas stuff, and schedules I assume are gonna be like all over the place during those times. So
Well, I'll likely be working the day after Christmas, knowing my luck. So
I don't know what's happening with me honestly, because my family tends to have to do Christmas like late because of scheduling problems. So yeah, but I guess we'll see what happens.
There are definitely plans for Christmas stories this year, and by Christmas stories I mean just rereading the stuff we read in previous years. Like
Run back.
yes,
Oh,
runbacks.
Oh yeah.
We'll probably have like a new story, even if it's short, just to kind of be a companion piece and not just so it won't be a complete rerun. But yeah, there are some stories I would like to reread.
Yeah, because you wanted to
Nutcracker-
redo the. Yeah. You
Yeah.
wanted to redo the.
Nutcracker Scoob Redux, I think, needs a redo. Preferably one of the
it needs a re-Scooby Doo.
Yes.
Shoot me.
That Scooby redo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. There's room for improvement.
And you wanted to redo the Lana and Pitt story, right?
That as well. It doesn't need to be done this month, though. Maybe
Right.
that
That was
something
like one of
we-
the earliest ones.
that was episode 4, I think.
Yeah. So I think I think that might have been one of the authors I tried contacting, but they never got back to me.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, I would like to redo that episode as well, redo that story as well, and the Rugrats story that we read in July, even though it was a Christmas story, yeah, I'd like to probably redo that as well.
Hmm.
So, like, there's stuff to do, we just need to find time and people.
Yeah, and I at least added like a couple of things to the backlog that isn't super long, so if we need anything new that's not like gonna take like 10 episodes, like there's also that. That's about all I've got. I got nothing else to say.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, okay, I was
I
wondering
had-
why it went quiet.
I had something to say, but then you mentioned the backlog, and my mind just went Mihari.
Oh?
Say,
And I lost my train of thought so bad.
Mihari.
at least
Wait,
you had
what?
it at one point.
Mihari, yeah, you know.
Oh, Onimai?
Yeah,
Oh, right.
Onima.
Right, okay. Spoiler alert. That is one of the stories. I don't know when we'll do that though, but yeah, that is one of the stories that's supposed to be pretty short. Well, one of them anyway.
Gosh, why are GUE's hands, like, so fleshy? Give them do some gloves at least.
Yeah.
Tabocom, that's the sound!
What?
I mentioned when I was saying like give it some eyes, make it say a funny sound. I was thinking of Ekum Bokum, but I couldn't remember exactly what it was.
Oh man.
When you were talking about sentient jiggies and stuff.
Uh,
Let's see. I was supposed to write something before the end of this year. That's very likely not happening, but I will try.
yeah.
Even if it's
You
written,
technically did write something before the end of the year.
not that. So that would actually-
It's a magnum opus.
something that I would actually publish on FFN.
Yeah.
You're telling me you wouldn't publish peak story time on FFN?
Hmm.
Where would I put it, Raideran?
Uh,
uh,
to be honest with you, I actually like before we did the episode, like a few days before, I actually checked your FFN account to see if you posted it.
FFN is a site. Oh gosh, it's a site that was formed in 1998, and you know they're not completely behind the times, but they don't have a podcast section yet. So there's nowhere that story can be placed in, really.
Rip.
Miscellaneous, I guess, if that's where you put all the internet personality stories, but no. Just no. I actually have a good deal. A good deal of sticks based off established IP that I'd like to write. Like we'll see how that fares with me actually having a job now. We'll see how that fares.
Yeah.
Look, I know bees and ants are probably pretty close in terms of physiology, but that bee just looks like an ant. Like literally one of the Bugs Life characters, but yellow.
Yeah. Okay. Is that all we got then? Should I stop the stream now?
Give or take. Thank you, ZeroChan21 for the story. I have not checked your profile yet, but I do hope you've written other stories. Maybe we'll read something else from you down the line.
Oh, is that? Oh, wait, was that actually written by them? Or was that?
ZeroChan, what?
Oh, no, I'm confusing myself. Never mind. I was talking about the person that sent us the Simpsons thing, I think.
oh, that's someone else.
Yeah, I got confused.
Okay, they have actually written 2 other Dalmatian stories. I don't think either of them are complete though, so I'll have to vet those.
Yeah.
Alright, I think... Just took a break, Celestia. Well, we're about to end, so thank you for coming back, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a pretty long break.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take your story suggestion into consideration, and we'll see. So thank you for the submission.
Yep.
So yes, 102 Dalmatian, maybe Simpsons. 103 onward. Who knows?
Free for all.
It'll probably be a redo of one of the Christmas stories if we can get people.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. Makes sense to do those like during the month. Otherwise, it's gonna kind of lose meaning.
The contact's set again, and I've also just been trying to reach out to other people
Yeah.
and to expand our talent pool.
That'd be nice.
Yep, we'll see. Story time is back
But is it
for now.
here to stay? I guess we'll see.
If we're lucky.
The Grinch.
And by
won't-
if we're lucky, I mean...
if we're lucky, the Grinch won't steal Christmas or something. I don't know.
I guess that's as good a way to end it as any. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.